taking the time to chat to us tonight.
Well, thanks for having us, man.
Now, we are loving the tracks that we're hearing off the album at the moment. I was wondering if you could start off by telling us a little bit about what you guys were hoping to achieve with this album when you sat down to work on it.
All right, I can probably answer that. Well, basically, we were very happy with our previous album, but we also felt like when we reflected a bit on it that we wanted to write an album that was a little more personal, and that was where we basically just said, all right, we're going to write the best album for us. We're going to write what we want to listen to, and we're going to care less about how we think it's going to be perceived than maybe we did on the previous album. So it's a boring answer, but we just said, all right, we're not going to put up limits for ourselves. And I actually think it made the record more focused and listenable, to be honest, but that wasn't the intention.
Yeah, no, it doesn't sound boring at all. In fact, it makes me want to ask, how did you go about writing tracks that were more personal? Did you change the way that you went about writing those tracks?
No, not really. I will say I think we had more fun writing this album. Than it was less of a job you clocked into. It was more about letting the ideas flow and inspiring each other. I would say in general the way we write is very collaborative. So someone sits down and composes an initial idea, right? But then everyone gets involved and listens through the demos and brings in suggestions. And we just leaned into that really heavily. So that's what I think also made it a bit more cohesive, is that I usually say everyone in the band has had an opinion about everything on this album, which is, it's not maybe the most efficient way to just produce music quickly, but I think it really shows off in the quality of what we put out, because we were also able to, I think, kill off a lot of ideas quickly. So we spent less time on that.
Tell us a little bit about those discussions when you sit down and you all talk through something for the album. What are those discussions like? Because I know a lot of bands probably wouldn't want to go down that path. So what makes that work for you, and what are those discussions like?
They can be really hard, but I think we played together for some years now. And on the last two albums, we were not as good as we were in this album to discuss these kind of things. It was really hard for us, but we got more honest, and we were not as sensitive about it anymore, I think. So we just the thing for us really was important that the songs were as good as possible. And the only way we can do that when we collaborate is being honest if we think something is not good enough. So it was a choice we made, and sometimes me, myself, and I think Nikolai as well, were really sad or mad about something, but then you just have to breathe in and just say we're doing it because we wanted to do the best song as possible. So
yeah.
Of course it's hard, and of course sometimes we want to kill one of the other guys for not loving what we do, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
I think you need to establish a level of trust, right? You have to be able to tell your friend that his idea isn't good enough, and he knows you're not doing it. It has nothing to do with how you feel about him, right? And I think, but it also, I think I'm the kind of guy that I have opinions about everything all the time, which can probably be a little frustrating. But I hope that I try to check myself, but I also hope that if we're doing something creative, whatever opinion you chime in with is coming from a good place, right? And you don't have to get your way all the time just because you have an opinion.
Definitely, yeah. When you said before that these tracks were more personal for you all, what did you mean? Did you mean that these are tracks that were written from things from your own lives, or was it things that you all found that you were going through at that time?
Yeah, it's kind of a mix of that, I think. So the album is called the Hindsight Notes, so it's about what was going on in life for like the last 10 years and more intensive for like the last 4 years. And some of us, lost a parent or, became parents, just, so it's just about, growing up and all the things you go through and just write about them. So that's why it's personal, there's a really personal stories in there about, growing up and becoming an adult.
Did you both find that did you both find that very therapeutic to sit down and write about those kinds of things?
Yeah, for me it was, I'm writing all the lyrics, so it was, and it was, it was always the guys. Oh, it's a big trust to have from them that it's okay for me to write something that personal on some of the songs, because when you write something that personal, it should be relatable as well. So I hope we got through with that. I don't know if I answered the question.
No, I'll just say from the rest of the band's perspective that we talked a lot about the themes. I think it ties very well into the feel of how we composed the album. But this is for us. This is about us. This is the best statement we can make right now. And I'll say there's a lot of the lyrics that I feel like are about stuff I've gone through, so I project myself a lot onto them. But I think that's also a case of we wanted to make it personal, but in a relatable way. So I hope we achieved that for someone else too. But I at least feel that way.
Definitely, yeah. And Johan, you became a father for the first time during all of this as well. Do you see being able to sit down and write about that as something that'll be there in the future for your child to go back and listen to as well?
I haven't thought about that actually. That's maybe weird. But, when my son came into this world, he had a very hard time, so I wrote a bit about that on the album. So yes, of course, I hope he will listen to it someday, and yeah, but yeah, I don't know what to say about that because I haven't thought that much about that.
Yeah.
That's gonna be dad rock to him.
Yeah, it's gonna be dad rock. He's gonna hate it, I think. Talk complete trash.
The world has also been a pretty crazy place over the last few years. Did that kind of interrupt you working on the album, or did it actually help you be able to work on the album because you didn't have a touring schedule or anything like that at the same time?
Yeah, when we were going into the studio, and the same time where that was planned, the pandemic, got here. so for us, that the whole 2020 was, going to be in the studio and recording and stuff like that. So it didn't reflect that much on that, I think.
No, I think we were lucky in that sense that we were not going to be very active in 2020, and we had most of the records written when the pandemic hit. But it affects the release, of course, because we've been sitting on this record for more than a year after it was done, right? But to begin with, it just meant that all right, we just have to focus on this. The only thing we can control right now is how good we make this record. Everything else is completely out of everyone's control.
Definitely. And what is it like there for you now with the pandemic? We're opening back up, and in fact here in Melbourne we've got our first big stadium rock show happening next week. What has that been like for you guys not being able to tour, and what does it look like for you all there now?
In Denmark, all restrictions are lifted currently. With we have high vaccination rates, and now with the Omicron seeming less dangerous. I'm not going to get into a touchy political subject.
Yep.
Denmark was one of the first countries recently to lift all restrictions. So again, but of course our main audience isn't Danish fans. It's outside of Denmark, so that's a little bit more dodgy still for us to actually make touring plans. We're doing as much as we can, and we have some international stuff we haven't announced yet. But we are still kind of in a wait and see position, which is a little frustrating with the new album coming out.
Yep.
But we're working on making as much happen as we can.
How have you both found this time, though? Have you found this to be a time when you've been able to sit down and kind of refresh the batteries a little bit, because it has been a pretty wild ride for you guys over the past few years?
No. I'll just be completely honest. I mean, from a band perspective, I feel like we put in we signed with our new label, Rising Empire, a little more than a year ago, and we agreed with them that we would delay the release at least a year, and we would do like a slow build up with a lot of singles and music videos. So I usually say that this last year, and it's not like, we are really close and we're really committed to this, but this past year has been all of the not fun parts of being in a band, all of the boring work, all of producing content, shooting music videos, coordinating marketing schedules, discussing stuff with the label, right? Which is all we do it so we can, put out music and play shows, and that's just we haven't been ready for that. So we are really stoked that it's finally coming out now. Everything's coming to fruition.
How difficult? Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. And it seems people like it so far, so that's always encouraging.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what has it been like sitting on the album for so long? Because if you're someone who gets nervous when you've got an album coming out, those nerves would be going crazy over that 12 months. What was that like for both of you, sitting on an album and sitting on new music for so long?
I would say frustrating. It's a lot of stress. Everything's ready. You can't release it, but you have to do all this other stuff in the meantime. But I would say I'm also still confident that this is a good record.
Yep.
When we recorded the last record, there were songs, even as I was playing them in the studios, I was thinking, all right, we're never going to play this song. No one's going to want to play it live. It's filler. Not that there weren't really good songs in the last record, it wasn't consistent quality-wise, I think. And this is such a cliche, everyone says this about their new record, but I can just look at it and say, all right, I'm still excited about each and every song on this record. So I think that's a pretty good indicator that it's not terrible.
Yeah.
We'll see what people think, right? And it's not my opinion that matters at the end of the day. I'm already happy with it.
Yeah. It actually came as a surprise for me to hear that you've been sitting on the album for so long, because I was listening to Water just before I joined the call tonight, and that's a track that feels like it has been written over the last 12 months. It has that feeling of loneliness, and that's something that we've all been through over the past year or so.
Yeah, well, I'll say I'm glad. I think it's a question of us maybe getting lucky that because it is an emotional record, and it's not all. It's about dealing with hardships, and water specifically. Is about feeling alone, feeling isolated, and of course that's. Yeah, it taps right into what you're talking about. So in that kind of way, it fits right in, and it should have been written for like the last year or the last 2 years. But yeah, it was before that, and it's just a general feeling of feeling outside, looking in, if you can say it.
Yep. I also wanted to ask you about the signing with the new label, signing with the Rising Empire. How did that come about for you guys, and how do you guys feel about being with a label like that?
Well, it's not the most interesting story. It's basically we ended the relationship with our previous label. I think both sides agreed on that, and our management, we had the record all done, and they shipped it around, and we were very surprised that Rising Empire, they were very forthcoming. They took their time to, we had a good discussion with them, and they were very interested. So, and I mean, working with them is a definite level up then from what we've tried before. So we're pretty exciting to see what it looks like when the record's actually out, right? Because right now we just have a general feeling, and we have some stats, some figures about how we're streaming, how people are responding. But I guess we don't really know until we see the results we actually achieve with the record. But so far, Level Up would recommend.
Yeah, of course, they're doing a good job right now, and yeah, they're good people, good to talk to, really helpful, and yeah, so we're really happy being with them.
Yeah, they replied to my panicked emails on Saturday evening, which is I try not to send too many of those, but it's nice that they're read.
Yeah. Well, guys,
if we are a bit worried, they are always quite calm, so that's a good thing as well.
Yeah. Well, guys, I don't know if it helps put your mind at ease, but we've been playing the two singles on our show, and our audience have been absolutely loving it, and they can't wait to hear the album.
Perfect. Thanks. Great. Thank you very much, man. That's much appreciated.
And I guess for a way to close off the interview, what would you like to say to your Australian fans out there before they get the chance to sit down and listen to this album on March 4th?
So to our Australian fans, I'd say g'day, mate. Probably not getting the pronunciation correct there, but yeah, check out the Hindsight Notes if you want to be taken for a bit of a ride. I think it's got something for everyone, and it will probably also surprise everyone, no matter where you come from. We're really proud of it. It's the best we could have done, given the circumstances and the tools and skills we have. So yeah, I hope it resonates with people, because it's very personal, it's very honest, and we hope it's relatable.
Definitely. Well, guys, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us tonight. It's been an absolute